Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Hugo, and today we're going to talk about the Bitcoin, if it's still worth it, and also we're going to have a look into the what's going to happen into the market for the next upcoming week, and as well what's going to be the best stocks for this week. So stay tuned. One of the things that I spoke on my channel a few months back was regarding the tendency of the Bitcoin and what's going to happen with the crypto. At the moment, we do see here a bit of decline. The same thing has happened previously. So we have here a cycle of between 1, 2, 3, 4, around 4 years in between, which after those 4 years, we have an increase of the Bitcoin quite heavily. This decline is not only due to what's happening in the market, because the Bitcoin at the moment it's following the trend of the market, but also what the Fed is doing, and in terms of legislation, and in terms of the war that we still have with Ukraine and Russia. So there are a bunch of facts that are making this price going down. Although the experience that I have, and since I work in DeFi and fintech, the banks are starting to acquire more blockchain and crypto solutions in order to validate those transactions. So, and the banks are starting to adapt to the new technology, to the blockchain and the crypto, although most of the transactions are still being done through Bitcoin and Ethereum, not altcoins, especially what concerns about banking and big corporations. And this means that there's going to be a growth on the Bitcoin. Probably not as we've seen in the past, but there's going to be growth. So I do think Bitcoin is going to be worth it in the next upcoming years. Not only because Bitcoin it's the first, the same thing goes to the Tesla that was the first and has become the company with the more market share on the EV market. The same thing goes to the Bitcoin. Although we do have other altcoins, which are quite interesting, which I'm going to talk about, and in terms of technology will feed some gaps that exist on the Bitcoin and also on Ethereum. Of course, buying Ethereum and buying Bitcoin nowadays are really expensive. The transaction fees are quite expensive, so those new technologies or those new coins like Polkadot and Solana and Cardano, for example, they are technologies that fills those gaps, and that's why we're not seeing yet being adopted by the general mass, but they are going to start to. Since I work in this area, in the DeFi and the financial sector, I have some insights of what's going to be the next upcoming solutions and what are happening in the market at the moment. And in the market at the moment, banks are adopting the blockchain technology, crypto, and they are starting to do some legislation, internal legislation regarding the crypto and how this is going to be processed. And also a lot of information we need from the customer or the consumer that are trading. Our company actually acquired one DeFi companies in order to fill this gap that the banks now are going to start to need. So there's a lot of happening in the DeFi and on the blockchain environments, and this is something that I do think is going to continue. It's not something that's going to be killed in the next upcoming years or so. No, it's actually something that's going to exist, and is going to exist as we have our dollar and euro going to exist, and that's for sure. So this video was basically someone that queries me about what I think about the Bitcoin, and if it is something that we should be investing. I do think so, not only because of the market cap that we have, which is so high. There's a lot of money involved. It's nowadays, I don't even know how to pronounce that number. It's a billion, 470 trillion. I don't even know how to say this number. Anyway, there's a lot of money being involved on the Bitcoin, and I do think there's because of being the first crypto, I think it's a good investment because it's the strongest. We have another one which is quite important, which is Ethereum. Ethereum is the base of some of other altcoins, and that's why it's quite important coin. And also we have Cardano, which no longer is a proof of work, it's a proof of stake, meaning that we don't need mining machines in order to mine that coin. Is by proof of stake. So you have the coin and you keep the coin, and you're going to gain money, or in this case stacking that coin. In terms of Solana, the technology involved in Solana is now being traded for NFTs, and that gives a big leverage for the Solana in order to exist as a market, and that's why the market cap has increased a lot. The Polkadot, it's a quite interesting technology which fills the gap in certain coins. So basically Polkadot has a technology that allows you to transaction from Cardano or Bitcoin or Ethereum with lower fees and also faster, which the Solana is one of the things as well, which is quite fast technology. So this, I think, in the overall, and this is from the Coinbase market, in the overall, I think these are coins that we should invest, or if you want to invest in one of them, I think those are the ones. Tether, US Coin, BNM, Binance, and XRP, I think they are coins that fills another gap, a completely different gap between the dollar conversion into the coin. But I think this may not have a future, because they may die. More coins going to come up, and as soon as the banks will start to create their own coins, this may fall. I think that in terms of value, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Cardano, Solana, and Polkadot give us much more value than any other coin that exists on this 100 or 10 list of coins. So in conclusion, Bitcoin will continue to grow. As we've seen, they had a decline as we had in the past. There's a lot of legislation that are being built and adoption from the banks, and the coin is now starting to increase back on again. If this is going to continue, I don't know, because we may see a recession, and probably people now have afraid of this recession that is coming up, and that's why they don't want to invest, but this is being reflected on the market itself. So, and now let's have a look into the best stocks for this week. So we're going to start the week with the ticker FSK, FSKKR Capital Corp. It's one of the tickers that I already mentioned before in my previous videos. They have a dividend yield of 11.36. It's quite the increase regarding the past time. Also, the price per share has decreased, so that's why they are now undervalued 49.5%. They pay quarterly March, June, September, and December, and the ex-dividend is going to be on September 13th. So it's going to be today. You won't be able to buy it, or you can, but you're going to receive dividends only in the next quarter, not this quarter. So it's something that you should put on your watch list. In terms of the financial health, we have a 2 of 6, meaning they are good in terms of short-term liabilities and the interest coverage. Regarding the market sentiment, we have a buy, and the future growth is a 19.4%. In terms of the past performance, we still have a 27.9%. So, overall, I do think this is a nice investment to have. It's a diverse finance, like Main Street Capital. They have a really high dividend yield. We have undervalue of 49%. So I do think we have here a few indicators that are quite interesting. They increase a bit in the past week, as we can see here in the graph. The same thing goes to the market. So meaning that they fall a bit, the SP500. Yeah. The next ticker is going to be MPW, Medical Property Trust. This is one of the tickers that I have on my portfolio. I don't have the other one because I have already Main Street Capital. So I didn't want to increase much. I don't want to have more than 15% in each sector on my portfolio, and this is why I try to scatter my money through other sectors and industries. In this case, for real estate sector, I do have this healthcare REITs, which is one of the REITs that I have, I really like, and I have on my portfolio, which have now a dividend yield of 7.98%. They pay quarterly March, June, September, and December, and they are undervalued 56.3%. The ex-dividend date is going to be on 14th of September as well. Again, you won't have time to buy this one. In order to receive the dividends, you need at least 2 days or 3 days, which I recommend always 3 days in advance in order to process your order, and then you can receive the dividends. In this case, I do recommend you to add this ticker to the watch list. Regarding the financial health, we have a 2 of 6. As the previous one, we are good in short-term liabilities and interest coverage. Regarding the market sentiment, we have a buy, and the future growth, we have minus 15.4%. This may scare you, but in consideration they are undervalued 56.3%. We may cover here this gap. Although since this is a REIT, but it's a hospital REIT, we may not see a fall as we see in other REITs, which may be affected by a crash in the market in case since the interest rates are increasing for 1.75%, and this regarding I'm talking just in the Ireland's perspective. This increase as for someone who has an investment or a mortgage of 100k, this is going to mean that you're going to have an increase of at least 32 euros for each 100k of loan. Bear in mind that this is going to affect a lot of families, not only in Ireland but in entire Europe, and will affect as well the market. That's why probably this won't be affected, but other sectors will, especially like Mainstream Capital and other companies that I have on my portfolio as well. But I try to have some coverage there as well. In terms of the past performance, we have a 13.5%. It was good, but the future growth is really bad. So if you are concerning about this future growth, I won't tell you to go for it. But it's something that I have on my portfolio and intend to have. I have since the beginning of I constituted my portfolio. So, and I'm going to keep it this way. So the next ticker is going to be Western Union Company. They have a dividend yield of 6.39%. They pay quarterly March, June, September, and December, and they are undervalued 54.1%. They are quite good in terms of undervalued, but we're going to see what's going to happen with the future growth. Actually, it's quite similar to the MPW. In terms of the ex-dividend date, it's going to be on the 15th of September, so you're going to have time, but it's going to be a bit risky. I don't like to have only 2 days. Sometimes eToro doesn't process the order, so I do recommend you to have at least 3 days. So it's something if you want to invest in this company, since it's a company, a software company, but software company, I'll go for Microsoft or something else than this one. But if you want to invest on this, I do recommend you to have into your watch list and then invest later on. The financial health is going to be a score of 2 of 6. So the only thing they have good is the debt cover and the interest covered. The market sentiment, we have a hold, and in terms of the future growth, we have a minus 12.3%. In terms of the past performance, we have a 31.7%. If I recommend this stock comparing to the MPW, for example, this company has around assets around 2 billion, and in terms of liabilities around 6 billion. And comparing to the MPW, it's exactly the opposite. They have more assets than liabilities, and this one has a big debt, which going to be a bit risky to fight back this future growth negative, which the MPW can do that quite easily. They have a lot of money in cash, so they can outcome that 15% negative that I have, and this one is going to be a little bit more tricky because they don't have that money available as a leverage in order to outcome the negative performance. So the next ticker is going to be S32ASK South 32 Limited. This is an Australian company. They have a dividend yield of 8.05%. They pay quarterly March, June, September, and December. They are undervalued and 36.2%. The ex-dividend date is going to be on the 15th of September. And the financial health is quite good score, which is quite good. They have a 5 of 6. The only difficulty they have is in terms of reducing that, but in terms of assets, they have around 4 billion. In terms of liabilities, around 2 billion. The market sentiment is a strong buy, and the future growth is minus 17.4%. and the past performance minus 1.9%. So the past performance, since being negative, this one with a big increase of the negative as well. I do think we're going to have here a bit of risk, and in terms of undervalued, they are not so undervalued as it's supposed to. 36% is not much. If they had like a 60% or 70% undervalued with a future growth of 17, this probably could be a good choice. Although it's a diverse metals and mining company, which if you don't have anything on your portfolio, this could be something quite interesting. So in resume, what I could do is have this company in my watch list for and see what's going to happen in the next quarter, if the future growth will improve or if they will become more undervalued. So, and to see what's going to be the trend of the company. Otherwise, I won't invest in this company. The next ticker is going to be BCE. That's not confused with the Bank Central Europe. They have a dividend yield of 8.85%. They pay quarterly in March, June, September, and December. Bear in mind, this company is not stable in terms of paying dividends. That's why I put there an asterisk. They're not reliable. That's why March and July they didn't pay. So I did put some reservations there regarding the dividends. They are undervalued in 61.4%. The next dividend that is going to be on the 14th of September, and the financial health is going to be one of 6, meaning that they are good in terms of savings and earnings rate. The market sentiment, we have a buy and the future growth at 7.7%, which is interesting, with a past performance 1.8%. Although, since this is a telecommunication company in Canada, if you want to invest in this market, telecommunication, I do recommend probably Verizon or any other company which is much bigger with a higher market cap than BCE. But this is a Canadian company. It's quite interesting. I'm not quite aware in terms of the dimensions of this company, but it seems that they are quite big as well in Canada. In Canadian. And I do think this is a really interesting company in Canada. But if there are other stocks, if you don't have like AT&T or Verizon, which has a higher dividend yield than AT&T, although this one has a higher dividend yield than those two. The next ticker, GLPI, Gaming and Leisure, is actually one of the tickers that I already spoke in my channel before. They have a dividend yield of 5.85%. They pay quarterly March, June, September, and December. And they are undervalued in 53.9%. The next dividend is going to be on the 15th of September. The financial health is one of 6. Again, the only thing here good is the short-term liabilities. The only thing that they have good, they miss all other points. And the market sentiment we have about. In terms of future growth, we have 11%, and in terms of the past performance, 10.5%. Just one thing regarding the financial health, they have in terms of assets around 2 billion, in terms of liabilities around 100 million. So they have a big cap, they have a lot of cash flow regarding and in terms of assets, and they can this growth is quite possible to achieve. So this could be a really interesting stock to have on your portfolio. Although there are more stocks in the real estate and specialized REITs that have a higher dividend yield than this one. But bear in mind, this is gambling. Gambling usually with COVID was quite affected, and they are now starting to kick off, like Las Vegas, etc., that are starting to open the venues, and the people are starting to go to those gaming and leisure places. The last ticker for this week, we have MEO Ultra Group. This is one of the tickers that I have in my portfolio, as well with the British tobacco. But since this is an industry that I don't believe, and I'm going to explain you why, in terms of future, for me it's a bit risky. In terms of dividend yield, it's 8.29%. They pay quarterly, March, June, September, and December. They are undervalued 17.3%. The next dividend is going to be on the 14th of September, so I don't recommend you to buy it because you won't receive the dividends. And the financial health, we have a 2 of 6, meaning that the only thing they are good is in terms of interest coverage and debt coverage. But bear in mind that they have assets around 6 billion, and in terms of liabilities around 8 billion. In terms of the market sentiments, we have a hold. The future growth, we have a 14%, and the past performance at 42.6% minus. So that's why I don't think this is a really good projection. From the past, we have a really negative performance, and I do think this future growth is not going to be 14%, but probably less. People are starting to consume less tobacco, as well as the IQOS and those smoking stuff. Anyway, so if they have more diversity in terms of food and beverage, and less only tobacco, probably could be something that I could invest. But in this case, I don't think so. So now let's have a look into the last week markets. What happened to the SP500? The SP500 had an increase of 3.42%, and we are still being underbought. There's still a lot of margin to grow there. As you can see here, we are trading around the 3,600, and the top was the 4,800. So we are between that in terms of the highest trade and the lowest trade. The Nasdaq had the increase as well at 3.82%, and the most affected was still the Chinese market, that had a decrease of minus 38%. So we are really underbought. So it's really nice, good time to invest. This means that we are really nice to invest in this market. In terms of the UK market, whatever you will buy now, it's overpriced. But this is also due to Europe went down. So actually, if you are American, now it's the time to invest, because in the European stocks, because the euro is quite down, and comparing to the pound, they are quite down as well. The dollar at the moment has higher value than the euro, and approaching almost the pound price as well. So this is a really good time if you have dollars to invest in European market, because you're going to get a lot from there. Not only you're buying really cheap stocks, but also you're buying a price where you couldn't buy it before, due to the difference between the dollar and the euro. So basically you are gaining twice. In terms of the market sectors, the past week we had an overall of a 4% increase, being the consumer district sector with increase of 5.70%, being the highest. And then below that we have the energy sector, and with the lowest performing sector we have the energy sector with only an increase of 0.8%, which is interesting but not good, and we are still buying those stocks quite expensively. In terms of the overall markets, we had a really positive, except Apple. I don't know if the iPhone 14 was so bad that had a decrease there. Tesla, we have an increase of 6.62%, which is quite interesting. We still have Amazon with an increase of 2.91%, although Amazon went down quite a lot, and they are still negative actually in my portfolio. We have the finance sector increasing quite a lot. They are quite interesting, with the JP Morgan's, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo with increase average overall almost 3%. And on the technology sector, we have a Microsoft with increase, and also Meta with increase of 1%. But when Meta went so down, I'm hoping that the increase in the next upcoming months, or because otherwise I don't know what to do with that stock. So now let's see if the positive trend will continue with SP500 and the Bitcoin. Let's have a look. So in terms of the SP500, we can see here that we have a rebound here before on the past week, and we still continue this growth. Let's see if we the next support, it's around the 3,900, almost the 4,000. This is now the new support, although the average buying we have here, and the MACD is saying that we're going to have a still positive trend. Let's hope that this continue this positive trend, and this being the new support for the SP500. In terms of the Bitcoin, we are still seeing the same thing, the same behavior that we see on the SP500, following the same trends, and we're still going to have a positive trend, as we see here, with the signal being positive, and probably we may see another continued positive trend. What is good about this is we have here some consolidation around the 20 grand. We're not going lower than that, which is give you some relief unless something happens as this. But I doubt it. That probably the next upcoming week. September is usually used to be a positive month, and December as well. Let's see, until December, I mean. So let's see what's going to happen the next upcoming weeks. Once again, guys, thank you. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like. That will help me a lot. I only have 700 subscribers, and I hope to achieve at least 1,000 to start to have some cash in through the videos, because at the moment I'm not getting any profit from this, and it's starting to be a bit concerning, let's say, because it's a lot of time that I spend doing this video. So I appreciate that you subscribe the videos and do a like. Once again, guys, thank you, cheers, and have a nice week.